Are you guys seeing this? There's a bear right there. Hey everybody, what's happening? Welcome back into the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. And in today's video, I am in Romania. I'm actually about to hit the road in what is said to be one of the most exhilarating and most exciting road trips in the entire world, and that is called the Transfăgărășan Highway. I apologize that I don't think I'm pronouncing it exactly correctly. You may have heard of this highway from the popular British show Top Gear, as they are the ones that featured it in the show a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure that's what gave it its international fame. So believe me, if you're ever here in Romania, that is a can't miss experience. I'm filming this from my hotel room here in Bucharest, which is where this adventure is going to start, but I've been here in Romania for about a week now. And I think I would be doing Romania a disservice if I skipped over some of the highlights of some of the things that I've been up to this week. So before we get started on today's road trip, I wanted to jump right into that. Also, a big shout out to Journey for organizing this trip. They are the ones that set up this entire experience for me. It was a surprise me type destination trip where I didn't actually know where I was going until I boarded my flight to come here. And if you're curious about that experience and the lead up to my trip in Romania, I covered that in another video, which you can see linked on my channel. So jumping into the highlights from this past week, when I first arrived here in Bucharest, the first thing I did was a food and walking tour where we explored the unique architectural styles of Romania, including the area called Little Paris. And then as we continued, we ended up sampling a variety of hearty Romanian dishes, including mici, which is actually turned out really delicious. This is spiced sausage without actual casings. There was a man a long time ago who ran a sausage stand here in Romania, and one day he ran out of casings but had to keep making the sausage. So he ended up making sausage without the casings, and it ended up being a big hit, and it has stuck ever since. I went on to sample a whole bunch of other things here, generous helpings of stew and various different kinds of meat like pork and chicken, which the whole thing I thought was absolutely delicious. We also visited a large farmers market, which is frequented by locals, packed with all kinds of fresh fruit and locally produced goods and an abundance of produce, which I was absolutely blown away by. The next day marked my start of my journey into the countryside of Transylvania, beginning with 2 visits to Romania's most iconic castles, which were the Pelish Castle and the Bran Castle. The Bran Castle, which is originally a military installation built to defend Romania from neighboring invasions, is also the inspiration for the pop culture figure Dracula, which I'm sure you've heard of. I then arrived to the neighboring town of Brasov, and when I arrived to this town, I was absolutely in awe. I was speechless. I was so blown away by it. I didn't know what I was expecting in the beginning when I first arrived, but this town blew me away with how clean and colorful and just beautifully preserved it was. It was so amazing that I actually spent the evening just walking around town and photographing everything. Brasov's iconic sign, which sits atop of the imposing mountain nearby, looks just like the Hollywood sign. And then next to the town square, you have the Black Church, which actually got its name from the Great Fire of 1689. There was a huge fire in the church. The flames of the fire themselves caused a lot of black scarring on the side of the church, and it was left this way as a tribute to what an important part of its history. Brasov also has modern touches like Starbucks and KFC. And in addition to that, hosts its own version of Oktoberfest and Christmas markets like you would see in Western Europe. Brasov is also becoming a hotspot on the rise for digital nomads because of its rapid increase in excellent infrastructure, has an international airport, just overall rapid development. There's widespread English, and it has crazy fast internet, 1,000 megabytes per second upload and download. The following day, I dove deeper into the Transylvanian countryside where we went and visited remote villages that are currently occupied by various Roma communities. We also explored UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which included fortified churches that preserve the history of the Saxons who once occupied these fortified churches. One of the highlights was visiting a fortress that felt like stepping back into time. Had some serious Game of Thrones vibes, which I found to be really cool. I went on this tour, walking through the various towers and the defense chambers, and in that I had an incredible view of overlooking the town of Rupia, which was nearby, and you could really feel like you were in the moment, just looking through the fortified walls and what life might have actually been like sitting in this fortress. And where the fortress was at was really neat, as it was situated on top of the highest ground of the town. Makes sense, and you could see for so many miles in every direction. After that, I went on a hike through the Romanian countryside. These roads were really important in Romanian history because they were used in times of invasions from neighboring enemies, and if they needed to escape undetected by the enemy, these gorges were highly useful. During this hike, we also passed a few active farms where you could actually see the sheep were being herded by sheepdogs. Even in fact, our guide carried a taser in the event that we would encounter any aggressive sheepdogs. They are known for being aggressive, and we actually passed through an area where the sheepdogs were known to be hanging out. We didn't actually run into any directly in front of us on the trail, but we did see some off in the distance. I returned here to Bucharest to partake in a walking tour with a focus on communism. During the communist regime, citizens faced hardships like electricity and gas rationing, with limited heating in the wintertime. In the wintertime, there wasn't enough heat to actually heat your house to room temperature. You had to actually go to bed wearing everything that you had just to keep warm and not freeze to death, because the winters here do get incredibly cold, sometimes -20, -30 degrees in Celsius. Just goes to show you just how brutal the wintertime was here in Romania. In addition to that, cars were a rare luxury, and public transport was unreliable, pretty much non-existent. Western music was banned, but Romanians held secret gatherings called secret parties to listen to smuggled in records. Food shortages were even severe, and there were very long lines at the grocery store just to pick up basic goods. And what made this whole thing very captivating and striking was just how recent the history was. Romania became a communist state in the year 1944 as a result of World War II, and they remained that way for about 50 years until 1989, when there was the Romanian Revolution, where the people of Romania finally got fed up, had enough, and then took matters into their own hands and then had a revolution to overthrow the communist leadership. And that's when they became the democratic state that we know them as today here in Romania. It's really opened my eyes in many ways. The recency of the communist history is still pretty fresh here in Romania. When you interact with the locals, a lot of times you're interacting with someone who actually lived through it, or if they're younger, their ancestors lived through it. So experiencing and learning about the history here is a little bit different than other places where the history feels like it's thousands of years ago. But with all that said, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to jump into today's road trip. So now the plan is to get packed up here. After that, gonna go pick up the rental car and get on the road, and let's go check out this highway. Let's do it. Here we are at the base of the Carpathian Mountains, ready to tackle the Transfăgărășan Highway road trip for today. I'm probably going to spend all day trying to pronounce that correctly. That starts in the town of Brasov, which I am about an hour north of that already, because the beginning of that is mostly unremarkable, not much to see. So I wanted to start it off where things got interesting. So here we are at the beginning of the road, just past the Transfăgărășan sign. Right where we stand, I stand at about 2,100 feet of elevation. And fun fact, the highest point in Romania is at the top of this road here in the Carpathian Mountains, and that stands at about 6,600 feet. So I'm interested to see what it looks like from up there. I've been told that the weather can change on a dime here, but as you can see, it's all blue skies, so it's a little hard to believe that when we get to the top it's going to be foggy or rainy or overcast or what have you. Let's not waste any more time and get on the road. Let's go. Driving on the road for a couple hours and it's been nothing but forest. I have to imagine that it's gonna turn real soon because people are raving about this road. Best road trip in the world. I hope it gets better than this. I admit it was like flipping a switch. It felt like we were driving through the forest forever, and then just like that, in a blink of an eye, it looked like this. said that I didn't think the weather was gonna change. Well, here we are. We're at about 6,500 feet. This is pretty close to the top right here. It is pretty chilly. It's about 9 degrees Celsius, which is about 48 in Fahrenheit. So the weather did turn a little bit, and you can actually see it got pretty cloudy here. And in fact, the clouds there are covering up the peaks just a little bit. So not the highest elevation ever, but it is high enough to trap in the clouds and change the weather a little bit. So we got a little bit of a microclimate thing going on. It's been pretty awesome so far. You can see how windy it is, and it's honestly amazing when you think about it. This was used as a military transport road back in the day, right through the middle of all these mountains. You guys seeing this? There's a bear right there. Oh, that bear is threatened by the car. There's a car over there. That bear doesn't know what to make of all these cars. There's a bunch of cars just pulling in here. Huh, this bear don't like it. He's like, fuck no. Are you gonna do some tricks for us? I wonder how old that bear is, or how young it is. Now it's going behind the car. Nope. Ain't happening.
Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think with flying fish.
Alright, I'm out of here. In the car next to me, threw food right next to my car. I saw that bear earlier jump up on another car. That ain't happening. Alright, well that was a cool front row seat, and I'm glad that they're not the size of polar bears. It's so cool just driving this road, all these hairpin turns and switchbacks. It's kind of fun. Even in this station wagon looking Ford Mondeo, which I didn't even know was a real car, the landscapes don't seem quite as lush and green as I thought they would be. So right now it's mid to late September, so probably not the greenest time of year. They do get a lot of rain here, so I guess I am a little surprised that it's not greener. I'm doing all of this in one day, which is kind of a lot. If you have the time for it, I would try to break it up maybe into 2 days, so that way you can travel in one direction and then spend the night in a hotel somewhere, and then you could make your way back. Good Lord. He's still beeping at him. That is one thing here. The drivers here in Romania are pretty aggressive, but they use their horns all the time. It's like a third language for them. I don't think it felt that dangerous to me. Almost this entire road had guardrails, and the entire thing was 2 lanes. There's sometimes like an exposure to a cliff there, but don't drive there. Like, it's gonna be fine. In fact, you see all these people over here? You're more likely to hit one of them than actually driving off the edge. Tourists. Just kidding. There's another bear right there. Oh look, a bear just sitting there. There you go, and one more bear to say bye to us before we leave. Hey everybody, what's happening? I am back here in my hotel in Bucharest. Made it all the way back. A lot of driving today. It was something like 500 kilometers, which is about 300 miles. But I think it was totally worth it. Got to check out one of the world's most exhilarating road trips, the Transfăgărășan Highway. Still learning how to pronounce it. I don't think I ever got it correct, but that's okay. And even had some unexpected surprises while checking out the highway today. Didn't expect there to be so many bear sightings, but they just seem to be very attracted to that road. I guess that's what happens when people constantly throw food at them. That wraps up today's video. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you like this video, please feel free to share it and pass it along. I really appreciate that. Also, feel free to hit the subscribe button because there are more travel adventures coming your way in the very near future. So feel free to stay tuned for that. Thanks so much, and I will see you guys next time. I'm not really in the mood to make this video. Bit of a hardship that I'm going through today. For the first time ever, the airline has lost my luggage. I don't think I've faced this much adversity in all of my travels. Inconvenient, but it's just stuff. It could be a lot worse. ¿Cómo está?
Miren,
Lo hicimos.
lo hicimos.
Sí,
Mira.
pero me duele mi cuerpo. Bienvenidos a Patagonia.